Finn and Sia had known each other for 6 years and had been married for only 2 of them. Their relationship began at a distance. At first, there was mutual dislike. Then, they grew closer as colleagues, became friends, and suddenly realized that love had been there all along. Even before the wedding, Sia suggested that Finn leave his job and open his own coffee shop. At first, Finn refused, fearing failure and being left with nothing. But Sia convinced him to try. During the renovation of their first establishment, they became even closer, and soon, 2 significant events followed. They officially registered their relationship and finally opened their coffee shop. The investment turned out to be a success. The cafe became popular, with satisfied customers returning frequently, much to the delight of its owners. Sia often joked with her husband, saying she was the one in charge, since she had insisted on starting the business. Finn would simply smile and agree with her. She really put a lot of work into their shared dream. As time went on, Sia and Finn celebrated both their wedding anniversary and the birthday of their coffee shop. "It's been a difficult year," Finn said as they relaxed at home in the evening. They had ordered food delivery, turned on a show, and were simply enjoying the moment. "I think it will be easier for Malin. We can attract a different audience," Sia laughed. "I suggest hiring someone other than us," Finn added. Sia supported the idea. It was an important step in the growth of their business. Finally, they could spend weekends together. As for the past year, they had been taking vacations separately. For the next 2 weeks, Finn conducted interviews with potential employees. After consulting with his wife, they chose a candidate. His name was Axel, and he was 24. One of his advantages was his attractive appearance. Finn immediately thought this would help bring in more female customers to their coffee shop. At last, Sia and Finn were able to spend time together outside of work. At first, everything was fine. But then, Finn started noticing changes in his wife's behavior. She became secretive, was constantly on her phone, and suddenly began denying him intimacy, offering various excuses. This annoyed Finn. "Sia, what's wrong?" he asked after yet another rejection, clenching his fists. "I just don't feel like it right now. I'm sorry." Sia smiled guiltily and kissed him on the cheek. Her explanation did nothing to ease his frustration. The tension between them escalated, leading to frequent arguments over nothing. Sometimes they fought so intensely that Finn would slam the door and go outside to cool off. He insisted on talking, desperate to understand what was happening between them. Accustomed to their perfect relationship, he was completely shattered. "Are you okay?" Axel asked Finn one morning. "You barely talk to your wife." Finn waved him off, muttering that she had been driving him crazy with her mood swings. Axel smiled knowingly and shared a story about his ex-girlfriend, who had once been so fed up with him that he simply disappeared from her life. But that option didn't suit Finn. He loved Sia and didn't want to leave her. Every couple faces a crisis, he told himself. They just needed to push through it. Yet, despite his efforts to fix things, Sia was pulling away more and more each day. She was growing colder. And then, one day, he had to come to work on his day off. A chocolate delivery had arrived, and he needed to check it in. When he reached the front door of the coffee shop, he noticed that Axel was not at his workstation. A sign on the counter read, "Break." Finn allowed Axel several breaks a day, so his absence wasn't unusual. What did surprise him, however, was Sia's jacket and bag behind the counter. Had she left them here yesterday? No, he distinctly remembered watching her put them in the car. Something was wrong. Tension gripped Finn as he carefully set the boxes of goods on the floor, trying not to make a sound. He listened. Nothing. Slowly, he made his way to the door, leading to the staff room. He paused, straining to hear. Soft sounds, shuffling, quiet murmurs, heavy breathing. Every sign pointed to someone being inside. Come what may, Finn thought, and yanked the door open. The sight before him stunned him. Sia was sitting on the table, and Axel was pressed close to her. The lovers jumped apart, their faces burning with guilt. Finn stared at them, unable to react. He had no strength left to yell, no energy to curse. The moment knocked the wind out of him, disorienting him as if he were experiencing it from outside his own body. His ears rang, and on trembling legs he turned and walked out. His wife followed him. He could see her lips moving, but her words didn't register. Then, suddenly, something inside him snapped. He shouted, so loudly that passers-by turned to look. He shouted at Sai, releasing everything that had built up inside him. His rage, his heartbreak, his betrayal, it all poured out. One bystander took out a phone and began filming. People watched the quarreling couple with interest. Later, Finn found the video circulating in a local social media group. He messaged the administrator, asking them to take it down. The response was blunt. No. Panting, exhausted, Finn pushed his wife away and stormed to his car. At home, he picked up his phone and called C's parents. He told them everything. Her mother sobbed on the other end of the line for a long time. Finn wanted to say something comforting, but the words wouldn't come. He was shattered himself. He needed support too. C's father eventually came to collect her things. Before leaving, he looked Finn in the eye and said, I will never forgive my daughter for her husband's infidelity. But he kept his word. It turned out that the fact was that C's father's first wife had cheated on him with her best friend, and now the topic of infidelity was taboo. When C arrived to collect her things, her father put out her suitcase and slammed the door in her face. She knocked, asked to be let in, and called her mother. But she could not go against her father's will, even though she pitied her daughter. C had to wander around her friends and boyfriends. Finn bought out her share of the business to own it alone, but he couldn't work there. Every time he went into the coffee shop, he remembered Axel and Sai. He soon sold the coffee shop. Sai quickly went through the money she had received and soon found herself penniless. She had long forgotten what it was like to work under someone else's authority, making it all the more difficult to adjust to her new job. She was anxious, doing her best to hide it, but at times, she would lock herself in the restroom and break down in tears, cursing her own weakness and the mistake of getting involved with Axel. They lasted only a few months together before realizing that passion and daily life were two entirely different things. Axel proved to be a difficult man, his peculiar habits gradually irritating and even unsettling Key. In the end, she was left alone, trapped in a cramped, cheap apartment and a job that only brought her misery. Cheating Secrets podcasts like me